With the WNBA season ending for many teams, there are already so many players heading overseas to play during the off-season.
Remember when you first saw Caitlyn Clark play and thought, this girl's gonna change everything? Well, it's happening right now, but not how anyone expected. Clark just had her first game in Europe, and it's like she set off a basketball earthquake. You know what's crazy? Caitlyn Clark hasn't even played a game yet, but Europe's already going nuts.
But with all of the drama currently surrounding the WNBA, on top of the low-paying salaries, some of these players are questioning if they'll even return or $78,000 for this first season. She signed a 4-year, just over $300,000 rookie salary.
Picture this. Clark steps off the plane in Barcelona. Fans are everywhere, holding signs, screaming her name. It's like a scene from a movie, except it's real life. The energy is electric and you can feel the excitement in the air. But wait, isn't she supposed to be in the WNBA? What's going on? That's the question on everyone's mind. Clark's decision to skip the WNBA and head straight to Europe has caught everyone off guard. It's not just a career move, it's a game changer for women's basketball. Clark's not just playing basketball, she's starting a revolution. European teams are throwing money at her like it's confetti. We're talking big bucks here. The kind of money that makes you do a double take. These teams know they're getting more than just a player. They're getting a whole new audience. And speaking of audience, fans are buying tickets faster than ever. It's like a rock concert, but for basketball. Arenas that used to be half empty are now selling out in minutes. People who've never watched a women's basketball game in their life are suddenly diehard fans. All because of one player, Caitlyn Clark. European basketball just got a massive boost. Clark's bringing in new fans left and right. Kids who used to dream of playing in the WNBA are now talking about playing in Europe. It's not just about the money, it's about the excitement, the energy, the feeling that you're part of something big. But here's the thing, while Europe's celebrating, the WNBA's got a problem on their hands. They thought Clark was going to be their next big star, their ticket to higher ratings and bigger crowds. Now, they're left wondering what went wrong. The contrast is stark. In Europe, Clark's arrival is being treated like a major event. Press conferences, fan meet and greets, social media blowing up with every move she makes. Meanwhile, back in the States, the WNBA is scrambling to figure out their next move. It's not just about losing one player. Clark's decision has opened the floodgates. Other top players are looking at Europe and thinking, why not me? The WNBA's talent pool, which they've worked so hard to build up over the years, is suddenly at risk. So here we are watching history unfold. Caitlyn Clark, the girl from Iowa, is reshaping women's basketball on a global scale, and she hasn't even played her first European game yet. Can you imagine what's gonna happen when she actually steps on the court? One thing's for sure. The basketball world is never going to be the same. While Europe's celebrating Clark's arrival, there's a storm brewing back in the States. The WNBA thought they had their golden ticket, but now it's like someone pulled the plug on the whole league. You won't believe how bad things have gotten. Remember when the WNBA was riding high, eagerly waiting for Caitlyn Clark to join their ranks? Those days feel like ancient history now. The league was on cloud 9, thinking they had it made. Clark was supposed to be their golden ticket, the superstar who'd take women's basketball to new heights in America. But reality hit hard, and it hit fast. Now, it's like someone flipped a switch and turned off all the excitement. The WNBA's viewership is in free fall. We're not talking about a small dip here. We're looking at a jaw-dropping 50% drop. That's right, half of their audience just vanished. It's the kind of numbers that keep executives up at night, tossing and turning. And it's not just the TV ratings. The arenas that were supposed to be packed with Clark's fans, they're looking emptier than a library on a Friday night. It's a far cry from the sold-out games and sky-high ticket prices they were dreaming of. Remember when Clark's college games were selling tickets for over $4,000? Now the WNBA's struggling to get fans through the door at $100 a pop. The league's in full-on panic mode. They're scrambling, trying to figure out what to do next. It's not just about damage control anymore. It's about survival. WNBA executives are facing some tough questions. How do they attract new stars? How do they keep the ones they have? The entire business model is under the microscope, and let me tell you, it's not looking pretty. This isn't just about losing one star player. The WNBA's whole future is on shaky ground. The NBA, which owns nearly 60% of the WNBA, is looking at potential losses of $40 million. That's the kind of number that makes investors very, very nervous. The pressure's on to turn things around, and fast. But here's the kicker. It's not just Clark. Other players are starting to look at Europe and think, Hey, maybe that's not such a bad idea. The exodus could turn into a flood if the WNBA doesn't act fast. Players are feeling undervalued and underpaid compared to their European counterparts. Can you blame them for considering their options? The WNBA's at a crossroads. They need to figure out how to keep their talent, attract new stars, and get those fans back in the seats. It's a tall order, and time's not on their side. The clock's ticking, and the whole basketball world is watching. Will they be able to turn things around, or is this the beginning of the end for the WNBA as we know it? The WNBA's struggling, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know what's crazier? Clark's move to Europe isn't just shaking up one league, it's sending shockwaves through the entire world of women's sports. We're talking about a total game changer here, and you won't believe how far these ripples are spreading. Let's talk about the money for a second. European teams are throwing cash at players like there's no tomorrow. We're not talking pocket change here. These are life-changing sums. The kind of money that makes you stop and think, wait, am I reading this right? It's no wonder players are turning their heads and looking across the pond. But here's the thing, it's not just about the Benjamins. WNBA players are feeling like they're getting the short end of the stick. It's like they're shouting, hey, we're world-class athletes too, but the league's not listening. Can you blame them for looking at Europe and thinking, maybe they'll appreciate me over there? Now, imagine this, all the top WNBA talent packing their bags and heading to Europe. Sounds crazy, right? But it's not as far-fetched as you might think. If more players follow Clark's lead, we could be looking at a full-blown exodus. The WNBA could go from being the premier women's basketball league to a ghost town faster than you can say slam dunk. And you know who's really sweating right now? The sponsors. They're watching all this go down and wondering if the WNBA is still a smart bet. These companies aren't in the charity business. They want eyeballs on their logos. If the stars are all in Europe and the fans are following, those sponsorship deals might start drying up faster than a puddle in the Sahara. But here's the kicker. Some folks think this whole mess could actually be good for women's basketball. I know, it sounds crazy, but hear me out. This shakeup might be exactly what the WNBA needs to wake up and smell the coffee. It's like a giant neon sign saying change or die. This could force the WNBA to make some big moves. We're talking better pay, better treatment, maybe even a total overhaul of how they do business. It's like when your favorite restaurant starts losing customers. They either step up their game or close shop. The big question is, will the WNBA act fast enough? They're not just racing against the clock, they're racing against a whole continent that's ready to become the new home of women's basketball. The league needs to pull a rabbit out of a hat, and they need to do it yesterday. One thing's for sure, women's basketball will never be the same again. Whether that's good or bad depends on what happens next. But right now, all eyes are on the WNBA. The ball's in their court, and the whole world's watching to see what they'll do with it. Everyone's watching the WNBA, but they're missing the bigger picture. What if I told you Caitlyn Clark's move isn't just shaking up one league, but potentially creating an entirely new global powerhouse in women's basketball? Europe's always had game, but now they're not just playing, they're changing the whole dang rule book. Clark's arrival in Barcelona isn't just about her joining a new team. It's like she lit a fuse on a basketball revolution. Europe's always had solid women's basketball, but it's been playing second fiddle to the men's game. Now, it's stealing the spotlight and everyone's taking notice. This could be the start of something huge. We're talking about a real global league here. European teams are stepping up their game big time. They're not just offering competitive salaries, they're rolling out the red carpet with killer marketing deals. Clark's $92 million contract, that's just the beginning. It's like Europe's saying, hey, we're not messing around anymore. But here's the thing, as Europe rises, where does that leave the WNBA? We're seeing a major power shift. Europe's becoming the place to be for top talent. Players who used to dream of making it big in the WNBA are now looking across the Atlantic and thinking, that's where I want to be. And it's not just about the players. Television networks are catching on to the buzz. European women's basketball games are starting to get primetime slots. Can you imagine? A few years ago, you'd be lucky to catch a game at 2 a.m. Now, they're front and center, competing with the biggest sports events out there. The talent pool's expanding too. Young players all over the world are watching Clark tear it up in Europe and thinking, I want to do that. It's not just about making it to the WNBA anymore. These kids are dreaming bigger. They want to be global superstars. Clark's not just playing basketball, she's leading a charge that's taking women's basketball worldwide. It's like she opened a door and now everyone's rushing through it. The excitement level in European basketball is through the roof. Fans who never gave women's basketball a second look are now diehard supporters. But with all this change, where does that leave the WNBA? They're facing some serious competition now. It's not just about keeping up with other American leagues anymore. They're up against the entire world. The WNBA needs to step up their game, and fast, if they want to stay relevant in this new global landscape. One thing's for sure, women's basketball will never be the same again. We're witnessing a transformation that's going to reshape the sport for years to come. Clark's move to Europe isn't just a career change, it's a game changer for women's basketball worldwide. The ball's in the WNBA's court now. They need to make some big moves, or they risk being left behind in this new global game.